Sika or any of the Samoans from that time?
I don't remember if it was I don't know if it was a cover photo, but it was definitely a photo in one of the magazines. I remember coming across this when I was a kid, seeing, and it might have not even been like the newest magazine. I might have been going through like archives or somebody's collection, but nonetheless, doesn't matter. I remember coming across the magazine photo. It was either Alpha Sika. It was one of them, and they were standing over top. They had like their opponent like seated on the mat, and they were biting into their opponent while they're dripping blood, and they just had this crazy look of their eyes were looking off away from their opponent as they were biting into them, and they grabbed it perfectly for a photo. I was like, that is the most savage photo I've ever seen. And you're right, Jacob Punchkin was the closest thing to that.
He is with that look. But here's the thing, here's the angle. He's crazy and cool because he comes out there and he's got the catchphrases now, and he's got the sunglasses, and like, I just think all of that is just a package of...
Welcome back, pro wrestling fans. Welcome back, IWC. It's an early Sunday morning, and it's your boy, the GOC, on the road. So I'm taking you guys and gals along with me. Here on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel for Chaos Corner. One man, unique, unedited, unscripted, raw dog for you, the fans. What we're covering here today on the show, because this is a show, it's not a fucking podcast. We're going to talk about last night's Money in the Bank and the fallout before we get to tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw. I thought last night was a pretty good show. Couple glitches here and there. Main event left a little bit to be desired. There's some breaking news. And then all the fodder over R-Truth, K-Quick, Ron Killings, whatever you want to call him. A great guy. Been in the business a long time. But nobody really gave a fuck about the guy until he got released. And now all of a sudden everyone's going crazy for a mid-card guy. I mean, that's just the truth. But we're going to get into that, so don't go anywhere. Follow me over on Twitter, a.k.a. X, at Big Daddy GOC. And the GOC stands for the Guardian of Chaos. We're sitting here right now before I get on the road because I want to hear what the IWC has to say and mainstream media in professional wrestling, which is Busted Open Radio, Fight Nation. And this morning it's, I believe, Jonathan Hood and Justin LaBar, who I do respect. He's got a lot of good takes on pro wrestling. He knows what he's talking about. Shout out to my mods, the OTS Tribal Queen and my brother from another mother, Austin Nance, for holding it down, keeping it real, and maintaining. So I wanted to briefly get on here before everyone else does, because a lot of people did their reviews last night, but I'm here Sunday morning. It was a solid show, as I said. Before that, and I'm not going to really talk too much about it, I thought When Worlds Collide was a pretty damn good lucha libre show, a.k.a. pro wrestling. No me jodas, maricón, muévete, culo, pendejo. What did I say, man? Kayfabe, they nodded. It was nothing, no offense. I have the windows open here, so you know there's all kinds of pollen and dust and particles floating around in this stinking Lincoln. Let's go over what happened last night. I'm going to start off and say this right from the rip. I was right about Becky Lynch going over on Valkyria. Now, I know that Valkyria, after the match, turned on Becky, hit her off with a power maneuver, and now this sets up for something down the line. Everyone thought Lyra Valkyria, whatever you want to say her name is, Lyra, tomato, potato, patata. She did lose to Becky Lynch last night. And again, I called it. I personally thought it was a no-brainer. Everyone else didn't seem to think that. Well, Becky doesn't need the title. Why does she need the title? I get kind of a little wondering why, and befuddled and bumfuzzled and verklempt, and why everyone says, well, this one doesn't need the title. They could lose and they don't need the title. Well, they don't really need the title. That's the whole point. You're trying to get championships in pro wrestling. Storytelling, emotional investment, ring psychology. So I think Becky was the right call. I was right about that one. Again, this sets up for something down the road with Lyra turning on Lynch. And hopefully this sets up Becky and Bayley, because we haven't seen Bayley. So I'd like to see who I think is an unbelievable grappler. I think we need Becky and Bayley. So let's see where it goes. I was right about that one. I was also dead balls on when it came to Seth Franklin freaking Rollins winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. But I'm going to get onto that in 1 second. Because this was a bout that was not announced when I did my preview for Money in the Bank. It was announced at Worlds Collide. And again, go out and check out Worlds Collide on YouTube. It was a solid show, especially if you like lucha. I thought it was a solid show. And there was some talent that really stood out, and I may come back and do a brief review on When Worlds Collide. Again, I like the concept. I like what they're doing with lucha. Again, I go back as a fan for 50 years of lucha libre, back to the classic lucha libre, the history, the mystery. The IC champion, Dirty Dom Mysterio, went up against, I believe he's third-generation grappler, Octagon Jr., in a pretty solid bout. Dom Mysterio wins with the Eddie flying from the top. Now, let me just tell you my opinion on Dom Mysterio. He grew up in this business since he was a little boy, probably just about out of diapers. And he's really come a long way, and he's been grappling for years already. A lot of people say, oh, he's not a good worker, he's not that. The guy gets fucking heat. And with cupcakes or baby cakes, whatever the fuck he calls her, Liv on his side, Liv Morgan, who's turned out to be a solid talent when I didn't really think much of her, to be quite honest, especially with the gimmick side of it. Dom Mysterio's turned into a solid grappler. And next to Logan Paul, is there anybody who gets more natural heat than Dom Mysterio? I've come to respect and really enjoy what he's done in this business, this industry. So that was another matchup that was announced on Worlds Collide for Money in the Bank. There ended up being 5 total matches for Money in the Bank. I believe the show started at 7 o'clock. We were out of there by 10:15, if I'm not mistaken. That's the way you do a pay-per-view. Now, did the fans get their money's worth? Maybe you should have had like 7 matches with all the stars and the roster in WWE. I agree with that. That's the sweet spot to me. 7 bouts. But Dom retains the title against Octagon Jr., who represented himself in Lucha Libre excellently. Because when Worlds Collide was on yesterday afternoon from Los Angeles, as was Money in the Bank, they were right across the street from each other, the two forums and arenas. Lucha Libre AAA represented themselves well with Conan on the color commentary. I thought he had a lot to add to the show. I really wanted to hear what he had to say. A lot of people don't like Conan. He's got a lot of heat. Corey Graves kind of stepped on him a lot last night or yesterday afternoon. But I enjoy Conan's what he relays and what he has in the business and his experience. I mean, can it be any better? I don't think it can. So that's how I feel about that. Dirty Dom Mysterio goes over, retains the Intercontinental Championship against Octagon Jr. Let's get to the ladies' women's Money in the Bank matchup last night, because I was wrong on this. Everyone said, oh, it's not time for Rox. No, this is what I heard last night in the IWC all over. It's great if Julia wins. It's great if Roxanne Perez wins. Rhea Ripley, apologize, folks. You know I get tongue-tied. You guys like it when I get tongue-tied. Rhea Ripley doesn't need it because she got aura and star power. I can agree with that. You knew most likely Naomi was going to get it, as I wrap up my thoughts here. I didn't pick Naomi. I picked Stephanie Vacour. A lot of people said, no, it's too early. You all said that about Braun Breaker Steiner, and you were wrong about that. They put this, I don't care how long Stephanie Vacour was was in NXT or where she came from, or she's only just gotten up to the main roster. You strap the rocket to her ass, and that's what everybody talks about. She won 2 titles down in NXT, the championship, the North American title. You pushed her to the moon. So what would be wrong if she came up to the main roster for a few weeks, went into a major pay-per-view, and bang! You ride that rocket all the way up to the moon, and you gave her the title. That wouldn't have been a bad call. Especially when you sit there and think, oh, if Roxanne Perez wins Money in the Bank, that's okay. It makes sense. If Julia wins the Money in the Bank, oh, that's okay. It makes sense. These ladies haven't been in NXT or WWE that long. I mean, I know Perez was down in NXT for a while. Julia's pretty new to the company, so why not Stephanie? Who she's been the buzz of the wrestling industry in the women's pro wrestling world. That's just a fact. So if she would have won that last night, there would have been nothing wrong with that. It wouldn't have been too early. You would have really shot her to the moon. Just my opinion of where I come from on that. So I was wrong on that, because I do agree that Naomi was the natural choice. Not the only choice, but she was a natural choice. She's turned heel. Everybody, oh, she deserves it. R-Truth deserves it. And no one fucking deserves anything in life. You earn it. Deserve it is a soft way and a weak way out. You got to earn it, and she earned it. So it's good to see that Naomi won the Money in the Bank women's match. She'll go on to, I'm sure she's going to feud with Bianca. She's going to obviously go for the women's championship or whatever title in the future. So Naomi was the solid call looking back on it. But again, I just don't understand the whole IWC and you neckbeards and mouth breathers and geeks and goons and nerds and virgins. I mean, no offense, man. Go out and touch a pair of tits and get a sniff. Act like you've been there before you've been with a woman. Because last night, Vakor, they're all easy on the eyes. I can appreciate that. I love that. I understand. Beauty and brains and brawn. I get all that. But Stephanie Vakor was basically wearing dental floss for trunks last night. Same thing on the Worlds Collide show. Lola Vice, when she was with Stephanie Vakor, Stephanie wrestled twice yesterday. Also, looking like you're wearing dental floss. Rhea Ripley, I get it. I flaunt it. If you got it, show it. Be proud. You work hard. I understand. But can we get a little bit more appropriate gear? I get it, most of you boneheads and fans with a brain of a dehydrated BB watch the product, especially women's wrestling, because you want to see some tits and ass. You want to maybe get a little peek from the camera, man. Come on. Watch for the stories, the physicality, their athleticism. Can we appreciate that? Besides, it's just about cakes. It's just about this. It's just about the tits and ass. Come on, man. Really? Little professionalism, decorum, and act like you've been there before. That's all that I'm saying. So, Rhea Ripley, beautiful shape, I get it. Ripped, jack, buff like shredded wheat. She also was wearing like garters and fishnet stockings and dental floss on her ass. That's just where I'm coming from. I have daughters, I have a granddaughter, I have a beautiful wife. I respect women and I appreciate their physicality and what they do in the ring and their talent. I'm just saying. Because I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. So that was the women's Ladies in the Bank. A pretty solid match. The ladders look like aluminum. We know that. When you do these high-risk matches, the men or the women, I want to see where everyone is in their 40s and 50s. Hopefully I'm still here. The injury risk goes quadruple. And then all the fans with the brain of a turnbuckle in the stadium last night or in the arena, over 17,000 for Money in the Bank. And that's putting asses in seats. We want tables. We want tables. Why the fuck do you want tables when you have ladders? It's a ladder match. This is the problem with the IWC in today's industry, in today's fans, in today's generation. No chaos, you're old, man. You're washed up, and you're a boomer. And fuck you, man. I know what I'm talking about because I earned it. I don't deserve anything. 30 years in the business, in the ring, taking the fucking bumps as a pro wrestling manager, coming out for 2 and 3 matches a night, being booked all over this fucking country as a manager, the most notorious manager, the biggest, the baddest, the loudest in my generation, in my era, which spanned from the late 80s, my debut in 91, all the way to 2008 in ring, and then still active today as a color commentator and broadcaster for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. I've done it all. Ring announcer, setting up the ring, breaking down the ring, promoter, hanging up flyers, selling tickets, sweeper of floors, manager, part-time grappler for getting in the ring and taking the fucking bumps. It's just that simple. So understand where I'm coming from. I'm not saying I'm right or any better than anybody else. I'm not. But I'm an insider. I'm informed. And until you've been in the fucking ring, a part of storylines and endings and producing an agent and scout, you really don't know what you think you know. Pretty simple. What's going on here? So that was the match. The ladies certainly took a lot of risks. The ladies certainly worked hard. You had Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and Vacker. I don't know, man. No offense. So Naomi is your woman's Money in the Bank. So it seems to make everybody happy, right? And she has earned it. So we'll see where it goes with Naomi. Again, I already told you, Becky Lynch, a no-brainer to me for the IC title. Dom Mysterio retaining the Intercontinental title. No-brainer over Octagon Jr. Let's talk about the men's Money in the Bank, which I briefly touched on at the beginning of the show. Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, yeah, Eli Drake, Andrade, Penta, Cero Miedo, and of course El Grande Americano, Seth Franklin Rollins. An outstanding bout. It went a long time, maybe a little overly booked at the end. All the men are unbelievable athletes. They're all in great shape. You knew Andrade was not winning. A lot of people were hoping for LA Knight, because for everyone who says, oh, the fans have an influence, they brought back R-Truth, Ron Killings, the fans have an influence. They listen to you. You got worked. You didn't get worked. Does it really matter? Because just remember this, whether you agree with me or not, I really don't care. But I respect your opinion. Everything's a fucking work. Life is a work. So trust me when I tell you, whether it was or not, they pivoted, they listened to the fans. I don't buy any of it. And I'm not saying it was definitely a work, but to an extent it was, because it's all work. Just like watching reality TV. Oh, it's real chaos, it's real, Big Daddy. As soon as you're on camera, none of it's real. I'm just telling you. So you knew Andrade wasn't getting it. A lot of people were going for LA Knight. A lot of people thought as a dark horse, maybe Solo Sikoa. I didn't even know Penta was in the match. So I don't believe Penta was going to win this, although they've strapped him to a rocket ship as well. El Grande Americano, he was on When Worlds Collide as Chad Gable. Although you've never really seen the two of them in the same place at the same time. It's like that whole Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman thing. That whole Dusty Rhodes, Midnight Rider thing. That whole, in my case, Guardian of Chaos and the Midnight Chaos Rider. None of them have been seen in the same place at the same time. Same thing with Gable and American Luchicana, El Grande Americana, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So there were some dark horses, whether it be Sikoa, LA Knight, and El Grande Americano. I predicted Seth Rollins. That's one of the out of the 5 matches. I believe that was I only got 2 or 3 of them accurate. But I did call Seth Rollins. I did call outside fucking interference. You knew it was going to happen somewhere, somehow in this bout. At least I thought it would. And it was a solid match. It was a good match. Crazily booked, and this is why I say why. Heyman at ringside, the Heyman hustle, you know that. The wise man, if you will. But then the Bronze show up. Braun, Steiner, Breaker, and Bronson Reed. You knew they were. Rollins was on his heels, so to speak, reeling, hurt on Queer Street, whatever you want to call it, the phrases are for reeling and being in trouble outside of the ring, on his ass. So they wave out the rest of the alliance that's very dangerous with Paul Heyman. 3 of a kind that'll beat any Full House. People want to compare him to the modern day 4 Horsemen. I'll disagree on that. Maybe the Heenan family, more likely, especially if you add somebody else. But here comes Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Breaker, the incredible athlete, hits the spear on LA Knight. Bronson Reed goes up to the top rope for the tsunami, the avalanche, whatever the fuck he wants to call it. Unbelievable Bronson Reed. I'm a big fan of Reed and Steiner and the faction with Heyman right now. Although I'm not over the top about Seth Rollins. That's just my opinion. I get it. He's the straw that stirs the drink. They came in, decimated the ladders, decimated everybody involved in the match, cleaned house. Then to counterattack that, because remember, Solo's also in the bout. Here comes JC, Jeff Cobb, Mateo, and Jacob Fatu. Talk about another duo that's unbelievable. Monsters, beasts, athletes, especially Jacob. They come down to the ring. And now to see Bronson Reed and Braun Steiner square off along with Fatu and Mateo, that's what I want to see. That's big man wrestling. That's what pro wrestlers are supposed to look like. That goes back and reminds me of the OG territory days back in the day. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. That's just my honest opinion here. I want to see that tag team matchup in the worst way. So they come out, they go at it. It's total chaos, pun intended, during the men's ladder match. And there were a lot of unbelievable high-risk maneuvers. And this is where the asshole fans, we want tables, we want tables. Get your head out of your fucking ass. Hello? Is anybody home? Bueller? Bueller? Anyone? Hello? McFly? Do I have to say this all the time? We want tables. That's why the business, and I'll bring up AEW now, why it's so high risk, so many injuries, someone's going to really get devastated. Have you not learned yet? Can we keep it simple, stupid, and invest more in the storytelling, the emotional investment, as opposed to just the ring psychology except these high-risk maneuvers? Over the top? Leave that to Lucha Libre. You're trained in it. That's just my opinion. So you come down, Jacob Fatu and Mateo originally getting into it with the Bronze. And then Jacob, again, some unbelievable maneuvers. He gets into the ring. Everyone else is outside the ring. Again, as I said, chaos, bodies everywhere. And it looks like that Jacob is going to help Solo. They embrace, they hug each other. I love you. Only to be at the end, I hate you. They embrace. He sets up the ladder for Solo. Solo climbs all the way up to the top for the money in the bank. And Jacob grabs him. And Jacob Fatu pulls him off the ladder. An unbelievable pop-up drop, Samoan drop, whatever the maneuver was. And Jacob turns on Solo Sikoa. That I enjoyed. Solo became, as I always say, persona non grata. And that really was a big part of the match with Jacob Fatu coming out and turning on Solo Sikoa. And again, everything was in turmoil, pandemonium, chaos, whatever you want to say. a stem winder, a Pier 6 brawl. And Seth Rollins, out of nowhere, is the last man standing in the ring. It climbs all the way up, unhooks the briefcase, and Seth Rollins is your new Money in the Bank winner, which to me was a no-brainer and made sense. I get it. Everybody wanted it as a dark horse, maybe Solo Sikoa, to continue the storylines. I get it with LA Knight. He's been pushed, pulled back, and that's where your fans, oh, you think you affect everything. You didn't affect LA Knight, Eli Drake, yeah, did you? Because it didn't work out for him. So be careful when you think that TKO and the WWE give a fuck about what you say or think. Maybe you have a little effect, but they're selling out arenas and all over the country and the world, paying exorbitant ticket prices that have axed all of the regular fans out of it. Blue collar, hardworking, lunch pail families, they have, and pandering to the elites and to Hollywood. They're going to sell fucking tickets and get fans in there no matter what anyway. So be careful when you think that you actually affect these people. Everyone's going to say, well, look what happened with The Rock. They influenced that. They pivoted on that. Look what, okay, you want to come up with one or two examples? Maybe I can buy it. But the majority of the time, they don't give a fuck what I think and what you think. And if you don't believe that, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, I even hear it on Fight Nation. I'm busted open, and I heard it on the major podcasts that I moderate for, whether it's JD from Off the Script, with the Solid Monster, with the Chi-Town